Thank you very much for the nice word. Good morning, everyone. Your Excellencies, Deputy Prime Minister, Your Excellencies, the President of WIPA, and all the distinguished speakers that are before me, and dear friends that we meet every year and we meet everywhere in the world. It is really an honor and a pleasure for me to be here to share UNCTAD's thought and my personal reflections on this, the role of investment promotion agencies in this new era, including what I've been listening and inspired by Celestine's opening remarks and trying to put down on my iPad what I'm going to talk about. Now, my message, the key message is that new IPAs in the new era. Transformation, transformation, and transformation. I'll start with the negative picture like everybody else. The message is too low for too long. But then I go on to 3 mega opportunities for IPAs. And then the message about transformation. What do I mean by transformation? 3 aspects of actions need to be taken, or 3 sets of actions. Now the message of the global economy, including investment, trade, and the jobs, they are interrelated, is too low, too little, for too long. First, in the area of investment, as you are aware already, and I think my colleague Paul Wessendorf yesterday already alluded to, global FDI hasn't been seriously recovered since the global financial crisis in 2007, 2008, in fact. Global FDI is still 10% lower than the pre-crisis level. Even though last year global FDI increased by 38%, looks very impressive, but in fact, over half of the growth were in the form of corporate reconfigurations. It did not add productive capacity genuinely to the global economy. Discounting that, the net FDI growth was 15%. Therefore, the global level of FDI is still much lower than the pre-crisis level. This year, the situation is still very gloomy. We know that FDI will decline by 10 to 15%, even though next year and the year after, global FDI will resume its growth, but the momentum is not as strong as we expected, and it will continue to be lower than the pre-crisis level. Say 2018, global FDI will reach $1.8 trillion US, is still less than the level of 2007, which was $2.2 trillion US. That is the problem. That is a problem not only for investment, but also for trade and jobs, as we know that 2/3 of the global trade was carried out by global companies, by multinationals, through the integrated international production network under the common governance of the global companies, what we called global value chains. 1/3 is intra-firm trade, another 1/3 is inter-firm trade, and the rest is the trading between the rest of the world by firms. So the lack of investment, the underinvestment, will really have a problem for the expansion of the global value chains, therefore affects global trade seriously. We know that today, according to the latest forecast, global trade will be at 1.7%, much lower than global GDP. And this has been going on for the last 4 years, and this year is the 5th year that trade growth is lower than GDP. And if you put into a longer term of horizon, over the past decades, this basically unprecedented. And we know that no investment, no jobs. The jobs growth remains challenged worldwide in both developed and developing countries. This is the gloomy picture, and we know that the world faces the challenges. Now, but this is also an opportunity. So that comes to the three mega opportunities I see for the IPAs. First, we see the strong demand, and ever strong demand. I fully agree with Celestine. There's a lack of, or there's weak of aggregate demand worldwide. In the meantime, we see demand for investment. We see the demand due to the SDG back gaps. We see demand for filling the productive capacity gap and the productivity gap. And we see the demand for trade creation. So these are the three gaps that needs to be filled with investment. And we know for SDG, according to UNCTAD's estimates, that developing countries alone needs $2.5 trillion annually. And there's a gap of $1.9 trillion annually leading up to 2030. That is the gap, that is the demand. The second is a huge supply. I'm talking about the capital. The supply of capital in a sense, we see that the multinationals still sit on cash piles between $5 to $6 trillion. It's a huge amount of cash investable. This is unprecedented if you compare with the cash holding average before the global financial crisis. That was around $2 to $3 trillion. We see the excess liquidity. Money is floating around. We see the low interest rate. Money is cheap. Capital is cheap. We also see the strong political will. The strong political will worldwide to mobilize resources for SDGs, to mobilize resources for new industrial revolution, to mobilize resources for digital economies. We see the political will of leaders setting up worldwide industrial policies to encourage investment, to attract investment into the key sectors, invest in the future. Industrial policy is back in fashion. All countries are doing that, including advanced developed countries. For example, G20. More than half of the G20s now have industrial policies in one way or another, forward-looking, embracing industrial revolution. All these three are the opportunities for IPAs. But IPAs are still in difficulties, in crisis. Why do I say that? Look at what we are facing with. For IPAs, we are faced with the challenge of higher expectations of the society, of the development stakeholders, to attract and to promote higher quality of investment. And we have the diminishing resources in the institution setup. We also look at thousands of zones, economic development zones, which are the platforms for attracting investment. There are 4,800 of such zones worldwide. They are dying, except for a few. There is a need for transformation. Therefore, I say transformation, transformation, and transformation. What do I mean by that? Three dimensions. We need a new narrative for investment promotion and facilitation. We need a new strategy. We need new skills or institutional setups. Now, first, new narratives. The new narratives, I think, is already set by WIPA on the board. Inclusive investment for sustainable development. That's the starting point. And how do we translate that into the narratives of investment facilitation and investment promotion. We need collective efforts. We need to tell the world at this stage, the governments and the society need investment. Therefore, they need investment facilitation and investment promotion. We know that liberalization has run its course, and we know that investment is a controversial issue now. But there are aspects where it's less controversial, consensus can be built. That is investment facilitation. That is investment promotion. It has to link to sustainable development. It has to link to inclusive growth. We are faced with this anti-globalization movement. But what we can say is that globalization is not bad. It's not finished. Perhaps the first phase of globalization has taken care of 20% of the population. We need the second phase of the globalization to take care of the 80% of the world population. And investment promotion agencies are in the forefront of doing that, are on the ground to fulfill that. So that's the narrative, linking into new industrial revolution, linking to industrial policies, linking to sustainable development goals. That's the new narrative, and we need to work together to mainstream investment promotion facilitation in the new phase of national development strategy setting, in the national development plan, in the action plan for achieving sustainable development goals. The message is no investment promotion, no achievement of sustainable development goals. It's as simple as that. Secondly, new orientation. We have been talking about FDI, foreign direct investment. In the new era, we need to go beyond F, foreign. We need to go beyond direct. Investment. Investment includes a full range of international transactions that includes not only direct investment, but also non-equity forms of investment that relates to contract manufacturing, contract farming, licensing, and all these full range of transactions. I think Mike talked about that yesterday. I just learned from him. So that is very important. There are trillions of transactions going on that needs all these facilitations worldwide. And in fact, it goes even beyond the FDI and much more than FDI if you can calculate annually. Secondly, investment has to be linked closely with trade. And in terms of investment promotion agencies, we need to work closely with trade promotion agencies. Generate trade is important. And that is the way that we move forward and justify the existence of investment promotion agencies. There are many I can elaborate. The second is to go beyond the F, foreign, because we need strongly domestic investment. We need the linkages between foreign investment and the domestic investment. We need to help the SMEs. That's the part of the inclusiveness that is clearly set on the board. The third transformation is institutional reforms and skill development. For that, we need outsourcing. We need internalization. Outsourcing means IPAs are weak, lack of skills. We need to outsource, partnering with private sectors, with business development firms, and to work together to get skills for preparing the pipeline projects, bankable projects for SDGs. That is the way of outsourcing and externalizing. In the meantime, we need to internalize skills in the longer term, therefore recruiting younger generation of people, that they know better of the sharing economy, they know better of the digital economy, and they are the quick learners, and they learn how to develop bankable projects for the future. So this is the rough idea, and there's a partnership with social impact investors. There's partnership with international organizations. They are very important. So these are the things we need to do. And the last word about the partnership between UNCTAD and the WIPA, I think the two organizations are embryonic in relationship. In fact, UNCTAD is doing policy making. We are trying to influence or to shape mainstream of investment policy makings, and the WIPA and IPAs are our partners for policy advocacy. And in the meantime, WIPA is on the ground and IPA is on the ground to promote investment, and we as agencies, we provide technical assistance to support them. So this is mutual support, which is very important. So we take each other as of one organization on the ground in one way or another. And we are happy to collaborate with many other organizations, OECD, African Development Bank, and Islamic Development Bank, and others. So my conclusion is that we need new IPAs in the new era. We need transformation, new narrative, new strategy, and new institutions. Thank you very much.